The following program is a real estate and mortgage show and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good morning and welcome to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts, Randy, Jackie, and Anthony, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email right now. Our email address is onair@yourteam.pro. And now, right to your hosts of Your Home, Your Money, Randy, Jackie, and Anthony.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're on mute, people.
Hello. We are on mute.
Oh,
You're good. You're good now.
are we on mute now? No,
No.
okay.
We can hear you.
We're good. We're good. I'm looking quite tanned, actually.
I don't look tan.
No, you look pretty white, actually.
But I'm tan. It was just I was so white to begin with.
Maybe you're tanned in a white kind of way.
Yes.
Yeah.
You went from pale to white.
I was like, I was this color white, guys, okay?
You're still that color.
All that color. You're a little dweeb.
So I missed 1 week, and I hear you guys are like answering the phone on the show and all this other.
Anthony, why did you bring that back up?
Oh, that's true.
I go away
Anthony.
for 1 week, and the show just goes like, what's going on here? Like, there's no boss in the room anymore. I guess that's what's going on, huh?
No, dude, we're here and there was a problem at the office back home. I thought it was critical because, you know, the office is Randy's baby. So I interrupted because if it's the office, he stops everything. But
Not
I
the
was
radio
wrong.
show.
I was wrong. So I apologize to
So
everybody.
what would we do?
I'm doing an apology. Be quiet. So I am sorry, everybody. That will definitely not happen again unless it's a client. If it's a client calling, hell with the show. I'm sorry. The clients come before anything. The
Jackie,
clients come for my children.
all you have to do, Jackie, all you have to do was sell it as a day in the life of Jackie. You know, like what goes on in the real world, like to bring them
Yeah,
behind.
that's true too.
So you gotta. I see. When I'm here, we can massage things, right? So we can fix them. But and I wasn't here, so you guys are like all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Anthony.
Well, that's the way I am. I'm sorry.
I'm in a rant.
I have to tackle everything dead on when it happens.
She
And
picks up the phone, like, what's that about? Okay, let her go off. So I'm going on the show. Then she peeks her head in and says, Randy, you gotta take this. Hold on, hold on. No.
listen, the office is under construction. The guy's calling me. Somebody took the key out of the box, so he can't get in to do his work. To me, that was a panic because we're trying to get this office done.
I did hear piece of the show last. Like I was listening to like last, I think 20 or 30 minutes, and I think Randy's kind of right. Like you're in Barbados, he's in Oshawa. There's not much you could do from where you're at.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
There was. I got him in.
remember that show? What's the show? With Bill Cosby, Ghost Dad. Unless you're gonna reach to the phone, like with your hand.
Listen, I did solve it. Ha ha. Found out who had the key and got the guy in the office. So there.
Oh my God, so I was looking at her and I go, really? Really, we're gonna stop the show? So what, like, at least if he called in through Gary's line and Gary could patch him in and we could make it part of the show, it might be something, but you wanna stop the show, like, I just, like, I was like,
Taking you out of the equation for the
I
show.
was blowing up. I was trying to figure out, what is her
That's
plan?
okay. I got roasted and I accept it.
Roasted in email.
It
She
was
got
wrong.
roasted.
It was wrong what I did.
And there was like over 6,000 people listening, and this girl wants to
Like I
stop the
said,
show.
It will not happen again unless it's a client.
Oh, that was funny.
From
And
now
I'm-
on, the office can blow up when I'm in Barbados.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, if I was her, then what I would possibly do is come back, take over the show.
That's what I was
Let's start
thinking.
talking and take over the show
Okay.
and say, here, take this. But no, what she was thinking was la 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 la. Oh, isn't that a pretty flower? La 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 la. Skipping through the fields, looking at the flowers.
While you're trying to catch the squirrel that you just,
Talking about squirrel, that you just opened the door to yell, hey, why don't you stop the show? And yeah, so I'm glad,
I do apologize.
I'm glad it happened because everybody now knows that she's not perfect. Because I know a lot of the listeners, they're like, poor Jackie, what she have to deal with, but I gotta deal with shit too, so.
Listen,
But my
I-
stuff is funny.
I'm
that I gotta-
sorry. I am a very casual person.
Yep.
I feel I'm very easy to talk to, and I don't put on a big show on the radio show. I don't necessarily, dress up and this is me, this real estate person. That is not me, 'cause this is me. Okay, so that's who I am. It's hard to turn that off and
She's in
pretend
the
that.
moment. She's in the moment.
Yes.
We could be talking about the biggest thing in the world and she sees a mosquito and that's it.
Don't get me started. Like, I get so mad at my, I used to get so mad at my wife, and now I'm like, you know what, whatever. We'll be, again, in a huge conversation, even conversations, or whatever it is. And then someone's walking on the street wearing blue shoes. I'm like, I don't care about the damn blue shoes. We're having a conversation here.
Exactly. But she's like infatuated. No, but they're blue Nikes. They're really, really nice.
Leave
I wonder-
Kareem alone. She's funny.
I wonder which brand.
She likes to have fun.
What year were those shoes? What do you mean, what year were those shoes? So now you get serious, like, okay, let's work with this. Where are you coming from with the year of the shoe?
About Anthony at the last company party, when his wife was trying to have fun and dancing around him, and he was all embarrassed, and he's like, I'm not dancing.
He
What are
was
you doing?"
embarrassed?
And he was trying to get away from her because she was going like this.
Oh, she was teasing him.
Yeah, she was getting a good hoot off because he was
Yes.
like, "I'm not dancing, what are you doing?"
She's a character sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think
Well,
all you ladies are.
she knows your trigger point for sure, because she grabbed it and
As we got a one email before we get started from Jane. Jane says, hello this morning. Hey team, this is why we listen to your radio show. Comedy entertainment at its finest. Forget the real estate.
That's what I say, Jane. Thank you.
well, that's the our lives part of the show, right? Your home, your money, and our lives. So I think, the our lives part came up by accident because Jackie and I do a lot of bantering.
All
and
the time.
All the time, whether we're on air or not. I happen to be a bit of a jackass that way.
Yeah.
I can't help it. Like, I see the funny in everything and it gets me in so much trouble.
Because you have no filter. You see the funny, but you don't keep the funny in. You
Yeah,
have to.
Yeah, thank you. Like the kids are missing us and they're like, oh my goodness, don't go away for a month again, blah, blah, blah. But once we get home for a week and they're dealing with this jokester, they'll be like, go back to Barbados. They'll be running away from him because he
They-
torments them just as much.
They love me. They love me. But yes, I
Yeah,
am,
unfortunately, we can't.
I'm an
be-
acquired
But,
taste.
but we can't, why can't we like smarten up and be professional? What's wrong with
But
us?
then, but there's no variety in that. There's lots of professional people. We want to be different.
But we're on radio. We're supposed to be-
Yeah, this is the problem. Is the problem.
And the funny thing is, when we first thought about doing this, well, Randy likes Grant Cardone. I hope.
No, I
most of
don't,
you-
I actually,
But you kind.
I
his business
appreciate
sense.
him. I
Yes,
don't like
business
his
sense.
sales.
No,
I'm the opposite of.
yeah,
sales.
but I mean like his business sense, okay?
Yes.
He's an amazing entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
And his
Very
wife
true.
and him do a radio show where they're very kind of, you know,
Yeah, I did like that show
They're-
because
they're not playing around,
No,
they're not
'cause
joking,
he's-
and that was what I thought we would be, but we can't. be.
he is alpha male and she is an amazing woman. Like, I'm not really alpha male, but I do have an amazing woman. I'm half alpha. I'm
You
not a
can't
true
be an alpha because you can't control me. You
I-
cannot control a wild being.
Like alpha male, I figure would be like a lion. I'm not really a lion. I'm not ruthless. I'm not a salesperson. I don't try to sell any of my customers. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do the opposite of that. I de-sell them. I want to make sure that they understand all of the pitfalls.
Listen, here's the
But-
thing. When we go on a listing appointment, I try to be professional, but I can't help myself. I get emotionally invested in everybody's life.
Yeah.
So I start talking to the ladies, and if they got a dog, look out. Like, you're not getting my attention anymore, right? Because I cannot help it. I
That's your
connect with
weakness.
people. Yeah, that's my weakness. Like, I'm just casual. I'm a casual person. I
You're
don't know.
casual. So that's her life.
And I'm sweating right now, but I'm dressing this because we're going to the airport after.
Okay, so you know what, I want to just deal with what's a little bit of the market and then, and then we can get into, what's going on, it's 11:12, so what's going on, right now. But for last month, remember, sales are down 36.5%. Sales are down 36.5%. They were closer to down 50% for in January and February. And then March, we're talking about 36.5%. So you wonder, why is it not getting worse? Well, if you remember, that's when the market started to get bad last year, was March. So we're currently like, that's when the Bank of Canada started the rate hikes. That's when the market started to naturally slow down. And we are even still decelerating overall year over year, but we're accelerating month over month. And that isn't really abnormal. That is kind of normal that the March month is an acceleration month. April's an acceleration month. And May is a pivot month. We really don't know what years that March continues to accelerate or begins its descent or deaccelerates downwards into the summer months. So May is one of those pivot months, and we're not really sure how they will play out. But we do know this year that April was definitely another acceleration month. It didn't accelerate in a major way, but it did accelerate. And what it did is it concreted that the market, in spite of all the government policies working to deaccelerate the marketplace is still really trying to force its way out of the problems that the government has created. I say the government, but it isn't our federal government. It's not really, well, actually, that's a longer story than that, but it isn't really our federal. I'm speaking specifically about the Bank of Canada arm of the government, which is supposed to be independent, was not independent during the COVID. They married the monetary and fiscal policies of the federal government and the monetary policies of the Bank of Canada. They married them together and they went on a spending spree, which the Bank of Canada financed through a process called quantitative easing. And they went through $390 something billion is what they spent during this time through our economy. And that's why through COVID, it wasn't just that people were feeling rich because some people were getting free money and they weren't allowed to spend it because the stores weren't open. Well, that wasn't the only reason. It was because there was a boatload of money floating around in the economy. As a matter of fact, now, these stats haven't come out, but I'm going to tell you in 10 years' time or 2 years' time or 5 years' time, it's going to come out that during our COVID, and this is the part that actually kind of scares me. So I need to be careful because I don't want to be canceled, especially by our government. But we were at one of our most prosperous, we were actually at our most prosperous time in history during COVID. A time when none of us were allowed out of our houses, we weren't allowed to work, but the money that was floating around in our economy was almost 300% higher to 400% higher than it was prior to COVID.
You mean the money was in the economy or just like in people's banks? What do you mean?
Yes, so I consider, and that's a technical question. Let me say this, because I'm not an economist, right? But if that money, in my opinion, if money is being created and it's put into corporations, it's in our economy. Whether it's in our hands or not, someone is benefiting from that money. And so how they benefited and what they did with it and how it spread out through the economy and all that stuff, I do not know. But what I can tell you is the quantitative easing process was over $390 billion, but we only have normally under $100 billion floating around in our economy before COVID. So all this money is floating, and then we hit this massive inflation. That's actually our faults. Our fault, because when we came out of COVID, we decided that we actually wanted to go to restaurants and that. This is the story. But prior to that, them spending, injecting $394 billion in settlement balances to the banks is not part of the problem. But it is part of the problem, because that's why it was so easy to get a mortgage. That's why you see everybody. Actually, I'm going to say this one on air, which I didn't want to say before, but I feel that we're getting further and further into this.
The rabbit hole that you're going.
We have a client who's listening to the show right now because he catches every single show. His son-in-law can't get a mortgage. He just got a job. He isn't even past his probation. He hasn't even passed his probation. We can't get him a mortgage, not legally. And this guy, well, I'm just saying, this guy walks into a bank. I'm not going to say the bank because I don't want to cause that kind of issue. And this is what we call mortgage fraud. Walks into his bank. His bank gives him a mortgage for $500,000. The guy is now out of school working for less than 3 months. And he gets a $500,000 mortgage while his wife's on maternity leave. Like, come on, how does this happen? And this is banks. This isn't mortgage brokers or whatever. This was the banks. You know why? Because they had $394 billion they had to go and start making money on. So that's what we were facing. So and then they're talking about mortgage fraud and whatever, want to go after these agents. Look right at the source. Look at the Bank of Canada, which is flooding the banks with money, because what the Bank of Canada told the banks is, hey, buy the government bonds that we're going to issue, and we'll buy them back from you. You won't be out of pocket. Don't worry. Now, they didn't have the conversation like that. They're much more professional than that. But how do the banks go and buy $390 billion worth of debt without having some kind of assurance that that debt is being repurchased from them? Because they would all be bankrupt. That's one problem. I can give you some more, but I'm sure you want to talk.
Well, just I guess to add on, Katie wrote in kind of like on the same context, subject line Bank of Canada. She says, Randy, it is the Bank of Canada. Sorry, Randy, it is the Bank of Canada. On the federal government's website, the Bank of Canada is on their site as one that is funded and regulated and is an arm of the federal government. Trudeau could stop this. He has a final decision for everything federal. So I guess it's kind of adding on to, I guess, what you're talking about there, where kind of I guess you're talking about them being hand in hand. So yeah, I guess that's what
Yeah,
it was.
when they were married. However,
Go ahead.
however, when they got married, when the federal government's fiscal policies married, I call it married, they became Siamese twins with the Bank of Canada's monetary policies, which is not supposed to happen. But when that happened, they were hand in hand. But if you look up anything and you talk to any of the aristocrats and the, you know, the people who are in this field, they say, no, the Bank of Canada is independent. They're supposed to be independent. I agree with that, but that's not what happened. And go back and check your info. And then they start saying stuff like, well, everyone knows that the government spending doesn't lead to inflation. And then, you know what, I have nothing more to say because that's what they say. So I have nothing more to say to them because at that point, I lose my ability to negotiate or my ability to communicate well, and I just want to slap them. Sincerely speaking.
Yeah, no, that.
You know, but it is.
They're always gonna blame somebody else. They're
Yeah,
not
well,
going to,
yeah,
they're not gonna hold themselves
Well, it's
accountable.
our fault. It's the Canadians. It's because we came out and we started spending.
And
It's
we
our
don't
fault.
know
But it's
how,
not their fault.
we don't know how to handle our money. Like,
Yes.
that's why the interest rate, that whole stress test came in. Because they didn't believe we should have the power to
To
decide what
control
we
our
want to
own
do with
money.
our money.
Right.
So they decided that they needed to control us. Instead of just leave well enough alone, they didn't. So there's a lot of people pissed off at them.
So that was one major hit that I'm actually just learning to deal with, because the part that gets me is this, and I had this epiphany the other day, is that why, and this is and it's kind of killing me because we know that the middle class has shifted, right? The upper middle class is now the middle class. The middle class is no longer in the middle class. They are actually struggling, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Everybody
And then-
came down a level except for the real.
Except for the wealthy, they actually
Exactly.
move up, right? So, and one thing that I want you to get from this is not just all negative, but keep your eyes open. There's opportunities out there. It's just that we're all so worried that we're afraid to take advantage of the opportunities. But it's really important to keep our eyes open because we got to keep moving forward, because otherwise you're going to sink backwards, right? Because when they say inflation rate is 8%, we know it's more like 20 to 30%, depending on where you are and what you purchase. It's certainly not 8% for anybody. Just go out for breakfast. Breakfast costs the same as dinner used to cost before COVID. Now,
Look, a large fries at McDonald's alone is like almost $5. I remember before it was like $2. Like,
it was
it's
like $2.
huh?
If you went to McDonald's, just 4 people, you're looking at 60, 70 bucks. So I'd rather go honestly and spend double and have a nice meal.
I was talking about the same thing. I'm like, for like the cost of a meal, add $5, you can go and sit down somewhere. Maybe
You know
10.
what I'm saying? Like, it's and it's better food, but
I would
but
rather,
McDonald's is like swarming in people,
I
so.
would rather my wife just cook me a good meal.
Keep
Like,
pushing.
what happened to those days?
Pull
Those,
that out of the air.
those days are lost with COVID too. She
They were
wants to
lost.
spend double.
They were lost before COVID.
She
Hey,
says, not McDonald's.
Before we move on, we got an email from Robert back when talking about your friend who got that loan from the bank. He says, "Hey Randy, what bank was that your friend went to? I need that bank since all of them are a-holes. That's what we need to get homes. This bank." So
Yeah, so that's all put on hold. This is what I will tell you. It is the #1 corporation in Canada. And
For the
so-
bank, so just look
it-
that
so-
up and
so-
they'll pop up.
Yeah, so they are the biggest bank in Canada. As a matter of fact, they're the biggest corporation in Canada. So, but where I was, and I'm happy for them, but what was concerning to me is that this person, they just wanted to buy a home.
and
They
just,
didn't know-
just-
they didn't, huh?
just to add on to that too, with stuff like that happening, that's part of the reason why the prices are keeping going up. Because if people who I guess shouldn't be able to get a mortgage can get a mortgage, all you're doing is adding more demand into the marketplace as well.
I'm going to say this, that person is extremely responsible.
Yeah.
He's able to handle things. He's very good with money. There's no
Yeah.
necessary issue there. That I don't
He
think
had
that
the down payment. He has the income, him and his wife. And somebody just decided to take a chance, I guess.
well,
because,
no,
but the unfortunate thing is that everybody can go and do that, that's in that position.
the problem is it's illegal. That's the problem, right? What happened there was actually illegal. You cannot be 3 months employed with a job, so a temporary employee, and that income count towards you getting a mortgage.
Yeah.
It cannot happen. It's illegal.
We
So
couldn't
if I
even
was-
get a mortgage for
so-
our other guy that was permanent,
That-
whatever, full-time,
Yeah,
with
he was
TTC or whatever,
permanent full-time with
transit.
not this gentleman, a different gentleman.
Yeah.
Permanent full-time over 2 years with the city of Oshawa as a bus driver. But because his job letter says that it's temporary, because that's the way that the city of Oshawa bus drivers thing work, even though you got lots of hours and everything's secure and all that stuff, their job letters always say that they're temporary employees. He can't get a mortgage with that. And so the thing is that I'm not saying that, I don't want these people to get mortgages, or I don't want to be the
No.
judge of that. The point being is that it's illegal for us to do. How the heck does the biggest corporation in Canada,
Get away from that.
who has even more restrictions around them, be able to do that? That's fraud. And the thing is that I can tell you 100% that the borrower doesn't know it's fraud.
Oh, no.
He has no idea of
He
what
just
just
needed
happened.
to get a
He just
mortgage
he's just
before.
trying a thing, right? He's just saying, oh, yeah, can I get a mortgage? Say, sure, go buy a home. And all of a sudden, boom, you can
Yeah.
buy a home.
They don't know any different,
They
right?
don't. But this was one of the side effects of having too much money, right? Like you have all this, the banks have all this money and they have to go and spend it. Now, the thing is that, are they doing it now? No. Are the restrictions much tougher? Yes. Right? But then it was loose. And it goes like that. Just understand that right now, everything's going to be super strict. It's going to be hard, if not impossible, to get a mortgage, if you're not squeaky clean. But that's only going to go on for so long. And then they're going to go back to opportunity lending, I guess is the way I would phrase it.
All right, so for all of our listeners, if you do want to write in, feel free to do so at onair@yourteam.pro. We'd love to hear your opinions, questions, anything that you might have on your mind. We do have one more email from Tim. In regards to the Bank of Canada. He says, hello to Randy, Jackie, and Anthony. I'm a licensed CPA here in Hamilton, Ontario. The Bank of Canada is in fact not independent. They advertise independent to let Canada think that they are. And it is just to give us good old Canada. It is just to give us a good old Canada, nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. All the regulations and charter information is regulated by Trudeau's government and has to be approved for public consumption. It is all a lie. Trudeau could change a lot of this, but he will not. He is very irresponsible financially.
Yeah,
I would say ouch to that.
that is true.
Yeah, that's I don't know Trudeau's intentions. So
Does anybody?
Intentions are to get reelected.
I have to say is I'm very happy with Trudeau that he put in his budget a paragraph that really didn't say a lot, but it said enough to help the banks to be sensitive to the people who are caught up in this financial mess. I have a number of friends who are wealthy, cash wealthy, and they're quite happy that things turned around, and they think that everybody who got themselves caught in it is stupid. And I understand their position because they're coming from a position where it doesn't affect them. So that's it. But to be honest with you, I'm glad that Trudeau took a sensitive stance there. I still will never vote for him. But for that particular policy, I'd like to see the fact that they mentioned it, that they said, hey, listen, this problem, this pain, because that's the words that Tiff Macklin, the head of the Bank of Canada, uses, that, we realize this is going to cause some pain. So the pain is bankrupting people, people who are going to lose their homes and all that stuff. That's the pain. And I really honestly hate that word because I know what he means by it. It just seems so insensitive to me, especially while you're doing it. It's almost like you're torturing someone saying, well, I'm sorry, I know you're going to die, but that's the cost of communicating in our economy. And and Trudeau took a stance, excuse me, and said that they want the banks to help these people regardless of their financial situation, make sure that they're able to afford their mortgages, even if the mortgage is underwater. Those weren't the exact words, but those were the sentiments. And I just thought that that was sensitive. It didn't come with policy regulations. It came with guidance. It came with guidance, not policies, not with policy restrictions or that. So I was quite happy about that. To be honest, since we're talking about Trudeau, he may be bad, but and I agree. I don't think he can run the country personally, but at least going off of what I believe his track record was. I don't believe he can necessarily navigate and run the country and make our country prosperous, but he was sensitive, and I'll give him that. Yeah, so 11:32, we're halfway through the show. Anthony, you want to do a rant? Or a buzz?
Yeah. Well, I have a few different ones. I guess the first one to kind of not really relate necessarily to what we're talking about, but talking about I guess politicians and being in the landlord class and whether we should question their motivations, right? So pretty much according to this article, it's talking about how a lot of the people that are basically making the rules for our housing, like for the housing industry or sector, are also landlords. Like it's apparently 1 in 3 are big landlord owners. So it's just kind of getting into the fact that it's not that real separation of they're making the rules and they're also maybe benefiting from the rules. So it's just to I guess be careful of that and cautious of that, and kind of again it's not always easy to. I'm not saying they're doing what's not best, but at the same time you have to just make sure, kind of make sure or check what they're doing when the policies that they're creating could have a financial impact on themselves, right? So it was just, again, it didn't really go into, the article didn't say anything that they're doing anything wrong per se, but it's just something to kind of you want to just know who's making the laws and then make sure that they're doing what's best for the people, not what's best for themselves. So yeah, so that was one. And the other one was, well, myself, I've been kind of getting into crypto a little bit, just kind of watching it and investing a little bit. And I know a lot of it is kind of a growing thing with it's still pretty, I wouldn't say it's mainstream yet. I think there's a lot of doubt in the market with cryptocurrency, but for those of people who do have cryptocurrency, quite a bit of it, there may be a way in the US particularly where you can start buying home properties with it. So there's I think this new thing called My E-Listings where you can buy and sell homes using Bitcoin. And when you do it this way, you can actually close it a lot faster. They say within like a few days versus I guess the weeks that it might take traditionally. So again, for those of you who might be into that crypto kind of thing, this may be something that you want to look at. Again, this is for more for the US. I don't think in Canada we have anything like that as of yet. But in the next few years, who knows? Especially with, again, for those of you who are into the financial stuff, I haven't done much research on it, but apparently in the US, they're looking to make a digital US dollar and maybe go away from the paper dollar, which I don't know, to me is a little bit scary, especially if the government's controlling that, because then basically everything is tracked. If the US dollar goes digital, then pretty much any dollar that's spent will be kind of known. Like there's no, I guess, openness or privacy, I guess. So yeah, we might be going more digital with our currencies, and who knows, the next 10, 20 years, no one really knows what's gonna happen. But for those of you not into crypto, maybe it's something that, again, not saying invest in, but just kind of know about it a little bit.
So my take on that is that it's absolutely 100% that all the central banks are going to and are currently looking at having their own cryptocurrency. That is without question. Now we know that Ripple has made a huge effect in the banking industry, and they are right now up fighting legislation with hundreds of millions of dollars in legal fees, fighting the government to have some stability in that marketplace. So that is not something we can get around. However, I am very concerned about the volatility in the majority of the cryptocurrency. There are some stable coins which would make transactions a little bit more predictable. But I don't know if you remember, we had a show quite some time ago, and one of the topics was purchasing a home with cryptocurrency. And at that point, one of the cryptos had dropped like 90-something%.
Oh, yeah.
So if you were selling your $1 million home with that crypto, and it happened to be on that day when you got your transfer, you just sold your house for $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, whatever that denomination difference was, and you would not be able to do a heck of a lot about it. That's the scary part of crypto.
Well, it might be okay buying with it, but no, because that's the same thing.
It can work both ways. But with crypto, though, it's again, as Randy was saying, there are stable coins that are like tethered to the American dollar, which don't really, they might fluctuate up or down a penny. Again, with Bitcoin can go up, go down. With Bitcoin, though, again, I've done a bit of research. Bitcoin is more of a long-term thing. If you've had Bitcoin for at least 2 years, at any point in time, you would have, I think, at least doubled your money, right? If you held on to it, right? But there could, if you hold it for a week, a month, 6 months, you might lose money. But again, in its history, as long as you've had it for 2 years, you would have had a net increase. So, but again, if you're dealing with big prices, big dollar amounts to sell $1 million home, if you happen to sell it when it drops by 20%, you're not gonna be a happy camper. So. Yeah.
As a seller, you won't be a happy camper.
Yeah,
as a buyer, you're perfectly fine.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Your $1 million or $800 is all relative to the number of Bitcoin. But the seller, if they are not looking to hold Bitcoin for the next 2 years, as you're saying, or whatever, then they're caught in the middle of a swing, a market swing. And that's problematic. And so we still got some way to go with crypto, but the news is out of the bag. The central banks themselves are looking for a solution, a crypto solution. And yes, you're right. Everybody is going to know every penny that you spend and when you spend it. But hey, that's the way it is.
Hey, I think we got a few emails in. I think you touched the nerve, Randy, with your Trudeau talk. So we have four emails. So the first one is completely different. So the first one's from Frank. Frank says, "Hey, you're home. Banks are using the money not for mortgages, but for hookers and hotels." That one's just kind of off the rocker a little bit. But the next three, I think people don't like what you're saying about Mr. Trudeau there. So the first one is from Karen. The subject: con job. Randy is a beta male. Does he wear heels? He easily follows a con man. Trudeau. Just smoke and mirrors. Anyone can say the stuff like Trudeau. Anyone can say the stuff like Trudeau did just to make folks think he cares about them. Randy was con. So that's the first one from
Come
Karen.
on, beta male? So I used to wrestle. I'm curious how old that person is and if they would like to, because I've always wondered, am I as strong?
Always challenging you.
Am I as strong?
Physically.
Am I as strong as I used to be back in, whatever? So, and now being 59, obviously, the testosterone isn't as high as it used to be. But I'd be interested to know if I still got it.
Was that wrote it? Who was it?
Who
That was
was
from that was from Karen.
Karen?
Karen, a woman?
Karen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Did
okay
you
then.
see the size of his head? Imagine a body on that.
I will-
The
He's
next
a big boy.
If it was Karen, that's okay. We'll let it go then.
Well, the next one's from Florence.
But the
Florence-
heels, Karen, but where'd you get the heels from?
The next one is from Florence. Subject line: shame, shame. My respect for Randy just went down 10 points. To believe that Trudeau meant what he said, his handlers had him do that. And Randy believes that Trudeau cares about Canadians. Yes, he does, but just for his left-wing crazy agenda. Shame on Randy to be conned.
Okay,
Okay.
Randy is very, when it comes to political, he tries to stay in the middle. But he
I kinda
is
see
by
both
no
sides.
way liberal anymore. If he is, we're getting a divorce because I'm not. I am not supporting Trudeau. Never did, never will. There it is.
I'm not gonna support him either, but I appreciate what he did. I can, just because I don't support someone, well, I did support him before, but I don't support him now, but just because of that, it doesn't mean that I can't see things that they've done that I would appreciate. And
What do
so,
you do you appreciate?
well,
What do you do to help us, but take 50% of my income?
that's not him. That was before he got in, but I hear what you're saying. I agree. I don't like the tax bracket that we're in. But no, it's more about he was sensitive about the problem that the Bank of Canada caused. All the problems we're going through right now are all
Well, what
because
are
of
you
the Bank of
doing
Canada
nothing to
policy.
fix it?
No, but he did put a clause. I can appreciate the fact that he took a minute, whether or 10 seconds, whatever it was, to understand that throughout the policies that have happened, there are people in the real estate industry that are hurting, and I want you banks to make sure you take care of them. And I don't, I'll put on a pair of heels if you can find size 13 heels. I'll put them on
You probably
and
need
say it
14,
again.
babes. You probably need at
Yeah,
least 14 or
probably in
15.
heels. I
Look at
might
that
need
width of your
14.
foot.
Yeah, but don't make them stilettos. Don't make them. I got weak knees.
Oh my goodness, I want to see that now. Please,
I'll
Karen,
do
find a
it. Maybe,
pair.
maybe for the next show.
All right, the last one from Adam. Wow, really? Wow, I guess all the other talk show hosts that I've listened to were wrong, saying that Justin Trudeau didn't really mean what he says about Canada's about Canadians not being able to buy a home. They're all wrong, and Randy is right. Wow. Hey Randy, I have some ice machines to sell to Eskimos. Want to get involved?
Okay. So, yeah, it sounds like I gotta do a little bit of defense here. Okay, so I am not saying that he wants housing affordability, because his actions don't say that, okay? Not only do his actions not say it, none of the actions of anybody in government, whether they're conservative or they're liberal, are saying it. And that's obvious when you have all of the municipalities increasing the cost for developers to build homes. Okay, those aren't the federal government that's doing that. Those are municipal governments, and the provincial governments, which that are doing these things. And so while we can try to blame it all on Trudeau, it's not. And so that's one. And yes, I do not believe that he cares or gives one rat's ass about of housing
people.
affordability.
People.
I think everybody, human nature, you typically tend to care.
How about yourself and your family? Because
Yeah.
they're not hurting.
Well, that's people though. You're a person, and your family are people, so you do care. And
Yeah, but when you're have the responsibility of the entire country, you need to look outside. You need to look at the little guy. The little guy's always losing. They're always losing. When they bring in all these policies like distress tests, and who's losing? The wealthy's not losing. The people that have already established self in real estate, they are not losing. It's the guy that's struggling to get in and finally made it. And then you go, boop, sorry, guy, let's pull the rug out from underneath you. You got to save for another 10 years if you want. Oh, and on top of that, we're going to raise the cost of food, and we're going to raise the cost of gas, and we're going to raise the cost of housing, and you're not getting in at all. I'm sorry, but
unfortunately,
it sums it up. That is the sum.
I do agree with what you're saying. There were a lot of little jokes that could be added to that, but what you said was true.
It's true.
But you did say it's about the little guy, and you're 4 feet 13 inches, so I think you're biased. So because when all these people who are under 5 feet, she's 4 feet 13.
I'm not.
They have a
I'm
chip on their.
4'1". Do you
You're
even know
4
how
foot
to?
1.
I mean, 5'1". You say 4 feet so much, you got me believing that I'm that now.
Because you are. You're 4 feet 13
I am.
inches.
5 3/4.
4 feet 13.
When you're adding in the halves and quarters, you
Yeah,
probably
when you're this short, you have to.
So I felt that your rant just now was sticking up for short people.
Not short
Because
people.
you said
Short
little
people.
people or the
Yeah.
small people, or
Well,
what did you say?
I don't know how I said it, but we know. Not the
The
wealthy.
small guy, the little guy. That's what you said, the little guy.
And that's
so-
what I still believe.
Because you want this world of little people.
But anyways, we're almost out, and I want to do my little buzz, because I think maybe this is something that people don't think about when they want to buy pre-construction. So when we want to buy pre-construction, sometimes you're getting in 3 to 4 years earlier than you're ever going to move, right? So it seems like a great deal. Oh, let's get in. We got this X amount of years to save for the rest of the down payment. We put 20% down. And mind you, COVID has changed a lot of things in real estate, okay? Before you kind of bought pre-construction, you weren't worried about closing. You weren't worried about, the resale value. But since COVID, guess what's happening, people? 4 years later, these condos, and especially condos, are now selling, and they're not worth the same. So when the appraiser comes in to appraise this pre-construction that you bought 4 years ago at that price and put your 20% down, can't appraise. And in one case, it was like 1.8 million, the condo. It's not appraising for 1.8 million anymore. So now all of a sudden, affordability is not there. So now the person can't close on their condo, right? So now what's the legality? The builder can keep your 20% down because you can't adjust, you can't pay for it. And then if they go and resell it on top of that and get 1.6, you're on the hook for the rest. So even though there's so many people out there that's like, I want to buy new, I want to be in a new home, I want to be in something that's never been lived in, be careful. And like I'm saying, COVID was a one-off. We never expected it, but just keep in mind that if the market goes sideways and the appraisals aren't coming in what it's supposed to be from 4 years ago, you could be in trouble. That's my buzz.
And
with those 4 year, was when the people bought, were they told it's gonna be 4 years, or was it 4 years because of COVID?
No, they didn't, the article I read said nothing about being delayed or anything, but they did say that because of COVID, there's also been a lot of builders that have just scrapped a project, right?
yeah,
And if they go bankrupt, good luck getting your deposit back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Kinda.
that's happened as well, but this is more geared toward, you buy a condo, it's supposed to happen in 2023, even if it happens, a year later, still the prices don't typically, you can still do it. But now because of COVID, the world has changed so much. The interest rates are changing. Stress test is still there. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to look at when you go into pre-construction and you're waiting to get into your home. But because of COVID, Anthony, yes, it's happened a lot more because of COVID.
I'm gonna double down on that and say that one of the hardest challenges that I find as a realtor and advising new clients is that they when they are looking at purchasing something new, you really want to warn them that it is a crapshoot. It really is. Like, as a matter of fact, we even though we will help people because they say, please help. So, but when it comes to purchasing new, we don't like it. We don't like, because while the new homes, they'll tend to pay us even more money to sell you people the new homes. The problem is we have no say. All we do is collect a paycheck. The builder has all the say. The builder can build it or not build it. The builder can charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars to close, because the builder has the right, if the economy changes, which it has, and you'll read up on these kind of things, the builder can say, oh, okay, well, you know what? We sold this person the house for 500,000, but the house is now worth 800,000. There was no way we're giving them that 800,000. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to charge them for all the trees that we have to put on the boulevard. We're going to charge them for the
grass,
park that
everything
we
now.
weren't going to charge them for before. We're going to charge them for every single thing, the fire hydrants, everything that they had to put in extra that they feel that they can grab money for, instead of them taking that as part of the hit in order to sell. They're actually tossing it in, and you find that you've got, $130,000 more you have to come up with to close in order. And that's if you catch it in a rising market. If you catch it in a falling market, well, like Jackie says, unless you're in a really good situation, your deposit is gone. And you know what? There's one other thing. Even in a rising market, if it's rising too fast, the builders won't even honor the contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm
They'll
saying.
It's pretty crazy that like it's so one-sided, like in both
Yeah.
directions. Like,
Yeah, they get away with
in
murder
every
sometimes, yeah.
direction, it is 100%. And guess what? Doesn't matter how much we come in to help our clients know, and every single new builder's contract is looked over that we're involved with for sure, and I'm sure everyone
And you need to look those
is
over very
involved with the
carefully.
lawyers, and the lawyers are going through them, and there's nothing you can do. If you don't like a clause that's there because it doesn't work for you, guess what? You can't buy it then. It's not like you say, oh, well, why don't you move this or change this word? Boom, you're out. You don't get it. So the builders have so much strength
it's
that
like
it's scary. It's scary to help clients to buy. I remember my first sort of like kick in the teeth with new, when I was new in the business. It was the John Body homes, and John Body is an amazing builder, is very considerate and everything. The guy moves in and it's carpet in the bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
All the upstairs, everything, they carpeted the bathrooms.
That was
like-
because he didn't want to pay the upgrade.
No,
because-
he didn't know.
That's what I
doing
was
the
gonna
70s
say.
down.
Because he didn't realize that this was at 600,000, this is what you get. Now,
But
if
it
you
was
don't
like
want carpet in your
Was it a
bathroom.
lease shag? Was it a lease shag carpet?
it was a 3,500 square foot home. It wasn't a small little home. It was a serious home.
Yeah,
And the builder is a good builder. And here I am getting slapped around because, yeah, I agree, this is wrong, but that's what the builder does. Nothing you can do about it.
that's why when you see these big signs starting at, that's what, nothing on the floor, okay, people?
I'll tell you what else
Just
I
be
learned
careful.
from that experience, and I'll let you read those emails that you're laughing at. But the other thing that I experienced is that the builder can actually totally change your elevation. So elevation is basically, you can have 3 homes that are that are all 3,500 square feet, but they have different elevations. One of them has or a different facade was part of the elevation. One of them has stone at the bottom with, windows and a porch around it, whereas the other one doesn't. It has more of a monolith. And you can have all these sort of different looks. So they're different elevations. The builder can change the elevation, can change the square footage, and you can't do anything about it. The builder only has to build the house to 75%, and then and they don't have to finish the rest.
It should be
So
criminal. That makes no sense.
It
Yeah.
really doesn't. But these are the reasons why we try so hard to not help someone who's buying a new home. And what do we mean by not help? Yeah, we'll give advice, but signing our name to it to collect the commission check, they have to beg us to do that, because the problem is that when we sign our name to something, we want to represent our clients and do the best for them, but there's nothing that we can do. As a matter of fact, most of the value that we add to people buying a new home is before they buy it, is to be there to look at the floor plans, to help them through that, to look at the situation, where that house is located within the plan. That's where the value comes in, because we can help them to maximize their return if they're following certain principles. But then after that, the builder has every say in the world once you sign.
All right, so we got a few minutes. I'll only read one of the emails. Some of them aren't too PC, but the last one says basically Jackie for PM for Prime Minister, from Jim. So Jackie should host the show. The middle class needs help, and they're not getting it from Trudeau's government. Jackie is so right, and he's saying that you might be a closet liberal, Randy. So just saying, I think you're gonna have to come strong next week to win back.
I am a liberal. I am a liberal. I grew up as a liberal. I was born in England and came to the Montreal when I was 2 years old. If Canada didn't have liberal policies, then I would have never been here. So but unfortunately today, because Justin Trudeau is in, I'm no longer, a liberal.
Well, I've always been conservative my entire life. Pretty much because my family was, but I'm so glad I am, because I would not have want to go out in public and say I'm a liberal. Sorry. I think I might get shot or kicked in the butt or something. I don't know.
So you got an email from Andrew Jones, Jackie is queen, and it goes on to roast me. Let's get on to that one.
Okay.
Well, he kind of tried to get away from it.
I was being nice, but so
no, let's do it. Hey, come on, it's roast.
Well, the first one, Anthony, you got to go to Mr. Cole. I'm not sure.
Oh, you can read that one.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, it says, Randy, a beta male. How about a trans male? Believing our MP, what he says, the crying guy, the guy who lies all the time.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And the last one from Mr. Andrew. Andrew says, Jackie is queen. Jackie, you are amazing, a strong woman. Unlike Randy, who is wishy-washy on issues. He's a play it safe kind of guy. Two-faced. Randy, instead of the idiot PM saying how he feels sorry for Canadians, effing change the issue. What is wrong with you? Trudeau says a lot of stuff about helping poor Canada and pushes a mask mandate and vaccine mandate, etc. Oh, boo-hoo. So,
okay, I can agree with a lot of it you said, except for the trans male.
Oh, geez. There, you got another one too.
Oh,
I am so off the hook for my picking up the phone last week.
Let's go. You got one from Jim. You got 1 minute. Let's roll.
No, I read the Jim one. Oh, not all of it, but yeah. Yeah, okay, so from Jim, basically said Jackie should host the show. The middle class needs help, and they're not getting it from Trudeau's government. Jackie is so right. Randy is a closet liberal on everything, forgetting politics. If it was a conservative running this country right now, and they did all of this, I'll be complaining about them as well. It is Trudeau. Randy, quit being a bleeding heart. This guy runs the Bank of Canada. He could say enough is enough. It is all a con job for Canadians.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with.
But I think
some of that
Anthony
too.
should host the show.
So thank you very much. It's 12 o'clock. We gotta end the show, but what I
Yeah, we
will
gotta
say,
catch a flight.
yeah, we gotta catch a flight home. What I will say is, you guys can kiss, sorry.
Now you're in big trouble.
I am just kidding.
William.
I am going to stand with what I believe, and that's it, regardless of what other people think. And I'm really glad that he put that clause in the budget, and it made me feel that he was sensitive in some ways.
But I have to
That's it.
protect my husband. He doesn't vote liberal. He just
Well,
rides the line, but he doesn't.
it depends.
Well, you haven't the last few years, so I don't know.
Yeah, true.
All right, people. Thanks for joining on for the ride and the Randy roast for the night. As always, it's been our home. Sorry, it's been. Oh my gosh,
Your
it's been
home.
our home, your money, and our life. RealityRadio101.com. Have a great weekend, ladies and gents.
Bye for now. See you in Canada.
Thank you for listening to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts, Randy, Jackie, and Anthony, right here on Reality Radio 101.